everywhere you go, you're going to take your thoughts, your feelings, your beliefs, your associations, your past, your memories, your identification with form, your identification as this body. You're going to take your slavery and try to find freedom.
It's like
it's closed, right?
It's closed. It's like set. It's like limited. It's like only what you know.
Been in a book somewhere, right? I would have.
That's exactly right. Somebody would have told me.
Just the idea that hey, you could do that for yourself, you know, and it's not going to interfere with your job or your wife or your family. Hello, my name is Richard Miller, and welcome to Never Not Here. This show is our way to look at life, and usually we say to take a fresh new look at the world. And maybe to find out more about life than we've ever imagined. What have we imagined about life? And has life conformed to our imagination? And what would be more than our imagination? I mean, more we usually think as more dollars and more experiences and more travel and more love. But I don't know if that's the more we're really seeking. And seeking is a really good word because it seems like we're all looking for something. And you know, in the very first show we were doing an intro, something like, gosh, maybe we're standing right on top of it. Maybe we're standing right on top of life. And so this seekerhood, you know, we just want to figure out what is it all about, and is it doing anything for us? And so we have a guest who's been in town for a few days. His name's Jeff Foster, and I welcome you, Jeff.
Thank you.
And
nice to be here.
Right. Really great. We really kind of feel connected to your message. And, you know, this is how I wanted to start today, because at lunch I was listening to some music, and we were listening to a singer. And really, she was just all over the map. I mean, she broke all the rules, and she was just so excellent because she went real high, she went real low, she went fast, she was playing, she was singing. Each song that she sang was like 5 or 6 songs because she had so many different ways to lyricize or to sing that song, and it was just like total freedom. She was just free and playing and really full of joy. I mean, just like pulling out all the stops and doing everything unexpectedly. Her voice was like a magical flowing carpet, or, you know, and I just thought, like, it's just freedom that we love, you know, when we hear a singer like that. I mean, it's just, we're naturally attracted because there's something about it that's around every corner is fresh. All endeavors, not just the arts, somehow we sense freedom. And that's maybe a magnet to us, you know, that's like what's attracting us. And we think, if I do this, you know, I'll be more free. And we rebel in situations where we're not free, like, you know, square jobs where you have to follow rules. You know, bigger corporations seem to always burn people out because they feel like structure is so important.
Yeah, I mean, we seem to live in this paradox, really, that we spend our lives trying to make ourselves into something, and to build all these structures around ourselves, and to try and keep ourselves safe and secure. And actually what we really long for is freedom from those structures that we've spent so many years and so much energy putting into place. It's a very strange thing to be a human being, really. That what we long for is something that really we could never have, because we, the individual, the separate self, is the prison that the individual longs to be free from. So really we long to be free from ourselves, and yet that's something that, in seeking for it, we can never have. We can never have that freedom, because in the very seeking of that freedom, we apparently lose it, because it's never here. Always looking for freedom somewhere other than where we are. And yet, you know, we're never not here.
Thank you. You know, maybe it's not so obvious in the personality and who I think I am that is freedom or not freedom. You know, of course, we're dragging that along and saying, I want to make that thing free. But I mean, sometimes it's obvious because you think, well, how am I going to really be secure? And so then you say, well, I build a wall here and I build a wall there. And in the end, I build a castle, right?
Yeah.
And then I heard somebody once say like, and the guy said, well, how could I really be secure? And they just said, well, brick up the door.
Yeah.
You know, put bricks on the door too.
Yeah.
And so then the prison thing is like,
becomes our grave.
exactly.
It becomes
The grave is is how you can be secure.
Yeah.
Die.
Yeah. Yeah.
And how can you be free is just take down a wall, take out a brick, open the door.
Mm-hmm. Let life in, because this is life anyway. You know, and really this whole idea of security, it's you know, we try to make ourselves secure, you know, in order to defend against this imagined insecurity. Actually, there is no insecurity. It's seeking security that creates the illusion that we're insecure in the first place. Something that we need to escape. So we build these prisons for ourselves, and we turn life into something very heavy. It becomes something very heavy. It becomes a matter of defending. So at its root is fear, really.
It's funny how you can get into it, and it just like it feeds itself. You know, it gets worse and worse and worse. I heard a guy say once, like, what you don't want is what you have. Well, of course, it's because it's on your mind, you know. I got to avoid this. And so that's what's like ever present, you know, what I need to avoid. You're going every angle to avoid it. And what you do want is always like what's going to be tomorrow, so that tomorrow is not here, it's tomorrow. So what you do want is you never have. What you don't want, you always have.
What resists persists.
Yeah.
What you resist persists. Yeah, it's you know, and we set so many goals for ourselves, so many goals. You know, we want to. What do we want? We want more money. We want better relationships. We want to awaken. You know, this idea of spiritual awakening becomes another goal for us, and it's like, when are we going to awaken? You know, it's that sense. You know, if not now, then when? If not now, then when? Because there's only ever now, and yet it's always when. We seem to live in the when,
right?
And yet there's only ever now, and when is always a thought arising now.
Yeah. So, but you know, that's interesting. I want to really get on that, how it's arising now, you know, because that's like maybe that's a doorway. But what I want to say this, that I was kind of calling those two things a different context, you know, like the now is one context, and when is a totally separate context. So you can be in when forever, and when never turns into now. It's almost a choice. It seems like a choice or a shift or something. You have to shift. And I mean, I always thought that when would sooner or later get to be now, you know, because it's just like the logic of future going to present, going into past. But I mean, now I don't believe that. I don't think it's true.
Yeah, the future and past are always happening now. Yesterday happens now. Tomorrow happens now. It's always a thought happening now. You know, the memory of a past is happening now. It's happening here. It's arising here, where we are. So we can, as humans though, we have this incredible ability. We can close our eyes and seemingly travel into the past and dwell in the past, live in the past or the future. And yet it's always happening now. It's like a dream. It's like the daydream, you know, of waking life. It's like when you're asleep at night and you're having a dream. In the dream, you can travel back to roam with the dinosaurs, or go into the future and become the first man on Venus or something. And then you wake up from the dream and you realize that whole past and future was just something happening here. Happening now. Even to say it's happening now, it's not actually happening now. The moment you say now, it's a then. Although that then is now. You confused yet?
You don't even need to say it.
No, you don't even need to say it. The moment you say it,
There's no need in this moment to say anything.
Yeah, this moment, it's expresses itself. It doesn't need us to talk about it.
So in other words, what needs to be said will arise and will be said.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, what needs to be said gets said. Until it doesn't.
Then it doesn't need to be said.
Doesn't need to be
said. Boy, that's a trust.
Yeah.
Because so far we've never trusted. We've always said, no, I got to do this, and I got to do it right, and I got to have studied in order to do it right, and we don't trust ourselves, and we don't trust nature, and we just don't trust.
Yeah, and yet all the time, nature or oneness or life, whatever you want to call it, it sustains us. It's constantly sustaining us. In each and every moment, it's looking after us. You know, it's
even when we ignore it.
Even when we ignore it, yeah. It doesn't even need us to notice it. That's how much it takes care of us. It's like every night when you're asleep, it's taking care of you. It looks after you. It heals the body and it beats the heart, and it's doing it now, and it's breathing and the heart is beating, and you know, cells are renewing in the body, and
you said we don't even need to be aware of it, or words to that effect. But somehow there's an inner belief, you know, at least here, that if we were, it would really be beautiful if we were aware of it.
Yeah.
You know, there's an inner belief that that's somehow, you know, like it's not really a coming together, but it's, if we're already, you know, there's nothing to be apart. But somehow putting the attention into the formula, being aware of it, could be a big step to seeing.
Yeah, and yet if it was that easy, we'd just do it. We would have done it by now. The world wouldn't be in such a state. If it was that easy. If it was just a question of, right, I'm going to be aware. You don't need to be aware. This is already aware. This is already awake.
So we're not the director of it.
We're not the director, yeah. That's the illusion. That's where the me begins, the illusion of control. You know, I'm a person in control of my life. And it certainly seems that way a lot of the time, until things start to go wrong, which inevitably they do. You know, illness and death have a habit of happening. And then we finally were forced to admit, actually, maybe I'm not in control of this. Maybe there's something beyond me happening here. And it's beyond me, and yet it is me too. It's not, this isn't a, you know, just being an individual is already a perfect expression of life. This is already the divine expression happening now. And this goes to the root of all religions and spiritual, you know, traditions and teachings, that you are it. No, this is God, this is energy, this is spirit, whatever you want to call it, that it's already here. You know, the kingdom of heaven is spread out over the earth. And men and women do not see it. We don't see it because we're too busy looking for it, trying to make our lives work.
We're so busy looking at our concepts, right?
Yeah.
Through, you know, maybe they're keyed off or they're triggered by our sense input. And then we jump into, I think we were saying that on the last show, that everything we see is really conceptually based in order to explain it to ourselves.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
You know, I was thinking like the illusion of freedom helps if you can run a lot. Because, okay, we're all running to our desires and running away from our fears. And if somehow we can outrun those things for a little while, it seems like we got choice. Because let's say we run out of a busy society or corporate world or violent society, and we run into a commune or something, or a spiritual community. And although I don't even think that would be so easy, but I mean, maybe it's easier for us to maintain our peace and to not be angry. And then, but the moment we get out of that element, which is just, it's really just a real tiny subset of reality, then our freedom of choice and our freedom just dissolves. And we just say, hey, these guys are taking it away from me. Usually we blame somebody, right? They're taking my freedom away. But I mean, in other words, you don't have it. There is no freedom.
Yeah. Yeah. But I guess what I talk about is it's not, we think that certain conditions can make us free, and yet what I'm talking about is it's the freedom. This is the freedom in whatever happens, whatever the external conditions. There's a freedom here that can't be destroyed by anything that happens in this world. I think this is you think of Jesus on the cross, and it's like at the heart of the most intense suffering known to man, the most intense physical pain known to man, and rejection by the whole world. Right at the heart of that was eternal life. Right at the heart of the messiness of this world and the messiness of what we take to be our lives. Right at the heart of that is the freedom that we could never find because it's there, it's already there, and it's what we are, and we're not separate from that freedom. It's just that if we're looking for our freedom in the external world, if we're looking for freedom in this world of impermanence, of passing forms, of coming and going and birth and death, if we're looking for our freedom there, if our freedom is based on having what we want, there's always the fear that could be taken away, and then the blame game starts. That was mine, he's taken it away from me, and then we attack.
It's a just fear because it can be taken away.
Yeah, it can. Yeah, it can. Anything you have, you can lose. There's no question.
So we're indicating a freedom that's before the world and before our fears, and it's already there.
It's like every night when you go to sleep, all your possessions, everything you've achieved, everything you have, where does it all go? It falls away. And then it's like you wake up in the morning and for a moment you don't know who you are. And then the eye comes, oh, I remember I'm a millionaire, or oh, I remember I haven't got any money. So this is the person that you think that you are is the illusion, and there's a freedom that's prior to all of that. Really what you are is freedom itself. What you are is a wide open space, a vastness that allows this whole world to be. Another way of saying it is, in a play, in the theatre, an actor can play various parts. He can play someone with no money. He can play a character whose possessions have been stripped away from them, or he can play a character who has everything in the world, and the actor doesn't mind which character he plays because they're both roles. They're both just roles. So really, one way of saying is what we are is the actor.
Yeah, and
we become so identified with our roles,
right,
that we don't realize it doesn't matter. Essentially, it doesn't.
So if we could just all be actors and just play our role the way it comes to us.
That's all this is. This is a play.
Yeah,
this is a play.
Whoever wrote the play, we got to just follow his rules because he's the one that's paying us with another breath, so to speak. I want to say a couple things. One was I wanted to mention that kind of the hook in the past and the future is that every thought also has an emotion and a feeling, and you can really kind of get a lot of juice out of just daydreaming. Either juice meaning like joy and happiness. Usually it's always sadness too because it's already gone or it's not here yet, either one or the other. So that kind of tricks us to think that it's real. Ideas are real juicy and they're real. But
well, this body doesn't know the difference between thoughts and reality. If you want to make that distinction, this body, you could be lying there thinking about, daydreaming about being, torn apart by a bear, and you can wake up all sweaty, and as if you were about to be torn apart by a bear. It's exactly this body reacts the same way to thoughts as it does to something actually it can't distinguish.
Even faster, because you'll see a gross injustice and my gosh, you're not sleepy anymore. You just totally hit, and then I get sweaty and stuff like this. And
that's why we love going to movies.
Oh yeah,
we watch like disaster movies, and it's real. It's happening
because the body doesn't know the difference.
The body doesn't know the difference. That's what, and we love that. It's like being on It's like,
in other words, the way the body works with its own chemistry and how it
yeah.
like throwing adrenaline in or whatever. It's doing the same thing
Yeah.
as if it was
And
real.
this is innocent. This
Yeah.
body, it just doesn't know. We terrorize it really with our stories and our fears and our hopes and dreams and longings and suffering. We really terrorize this poor little innocent body of ours.
Right.
You know.
No, we really do that,
Yeah.
Because somebody was explaining like there's 50 trillion cells and it's like this huge community and everybody's working together to keep this body going. And yet the radio station, which is our mind, is saying, disaster, I'm sad, terrible sadness, adrenaline here, anger here, hate. The radio station keeps blaring that there's disaster, and then these poor little 50 billion cells are holding it together and
it's
making it go.
It's like it's very difficult for us in this modern world to just be okay where we are. It's amazing, really. But that's all we really want, really, just to be okay here where we are. But we're so busy trying to solve the injustices of the world.
Especially as it relates to us, like those guys
Yeah.
that did it to us.
Yeah. That we kind of miss life. We're so busy trying to solve life, really. Trying to make our lives work, or trying to prove ourselves in the world, or that we miss life as it happens. The gift of this, the gift of being, of breathing, literally. Breathing, the gift of waking up in the morning and getting another day. I mean, lots of people won't wake up tomorrow morning.
Right.
But we get the chance to. Billions of people have passed away, since the dawn of humanity, and billions of people will come after us. But we get this chance to live this day.
This is our day.
This is our day, and there is no other.
Oh,
This is our only day.
in a way, you could say we're blowing it. I don't know. I guess you don't want to say that.
No, we're not. We in a sense we know not what we do. We know not what we do. If we knew the amount of suffering we were causing to ourselves, we just wouldn't do it. We wouldn't do it to ourselves.
Right.
We just wouldn't. So really, all this suffering that we do to ourselves and others, it's the same thing. It's the same projection. There's an innocence to it, in a sense. There's an ignorance to it, and there's an innocence to it.
A blindness to it, right?
A blindness to it. It comes from not seeing.
And even when we have a hint, I can remember with my own life, it's not that long ago either, of abusing myself in many, many ways, whether it's alcohol, coffee, not eating right, sugar, all kinds of stuff, and worse even. But I knew it wasn't right for me, but I just kept doing it.
And yet every morning we woke up and we're given another chance. We're given another 24 hours for free.
Right.
For free. That's the grace. We're given this for free. That's the freedom. Waking up in the morning. We talk about things like spiritual awakening. Every morning there's that awakening. We have another chance. In a sense, we're born again. Every morning.
At least we are born again, and somehow we choose to be old.
Yeah.
It's like I made this analogy, I don't know if I was talking on the show, that I come in to talk to you, it's a beautiful day and stuff, and I got a sack on my back, and we sit down to talk, and I say, wait a minute, I got to go in the sack, get these boots out that are all full of mud and stuff. I've been through it, I want to prove it.
Yeah.
I've got all this crap on my shoes, I've been through a lot of mess.
Yeah, we'll use anything to get an identity. It really all comes down to identity. We'll even cling to our suffering, at least so we can know who we are. At least if I cling to my suffering, then I get the identity. I get the identity of the victim, and I get to prove to the world. I tell everyone what a victim I am, and
what a hard life
everyone.
it is, and how what a fortitude you have because I've gone through these things, and it's been no piece of cake for me.
That's not to deny that all those things happen to you,
right?
But it's just, it's amazing. There's some people in this world have been through the worst events imaginable, kind of victims of genocide and the Holocaust, and yet they don't wear it as an identity. They see it for what it was. It was something that happened in the past. It was something that happened and is over. And yet other people who went through exactly the same thing, it becomes who they are. There's a sense of clinging to the past. This isn't to blame them at all, but just to see it. It's this identity is the illusion, really. We don't need to cling.
Mm-hmm.
We don't need to know who we are. And especially in the Western world, there's a big thing about we have to know who we are.
And what
to
our
be
purpose
someone.
in life
Yeah.
is, quote, and
We have to find our purpose and
all that kind of stuff.
Yeah. And what's wrong with not knowing? That's why I always say, what's wrong with not
What's
knowing
wrong with that? Right?
who you are? What's wrong with not knowing who you are anymore? And I think that's what the word forgiveness points to. Really is, like, no matter what's happened, it's gone. It's already forgiven in a way.
So our forgiveness is like to yourself, and
Yeah.
it's like primary.
Yeah. The forgiveness is seeing that what happened it's gone. It's past. Not to deny that it happened. It
Right.
happened.
Just say,
Just to say that it doesn't define what I am. It can't do. It can't do. Of course, in order to define ourselves, we cling to what happened. That's the only way we can know ourselves, really, is by what's happened.
well, in a way, we're fixing our so-called future, because we're fixing how the
Yeah.
present moment's going to unfold, because
Absolutely.
we're clinging to this pastness and this pain. Let's say
Yeah.
we had a pain, or and we're just clinging to it. And I guess people are, they're just saying, I was abused by my parents, and that can last a lifetime.
Yeah, the future is just a projection of the past.
Right.
There's no question. We look into the future and we project onto it what we know about ourselves now, what happened, and it gets projected, and then so we already know our future.
So then it's going to repeat.
Yeah, it's almost bound to, because we've
Mm-hmm.
already made sure of it. We already know what our futures are going to be.
Mm-hmm.
Actually, the future is just unknown. It's the unknown.
It's everything. Everything is possible, but
It's
as long as we let go.
It's the absolute
Go into a
openness.
let go.
Yeah.
I was kind of introducing the fact that the comment I made about every idea has an emotion, because I wanted to ask about, you were saying every time you wake up you're reborn, and it is a rebirth, and you could be totally new, and then that's when it comes in. You think, I got a lot of money, or I have no money, or whatever. But it's more than just a thought, isn't it? It's also kind of like a holding of your cells or your body. Like, in other words, let's say you're depressed. I don't know if you're in depression, or for one thing, that you wake up and you've got this holding where no energy flows, and it's kind of like your cells have learned to just clamp tight, I think, or I don't know what. I mean, but it's more than just a thought, isn't it? Or what do you think?
Well, thoughts and feelings are really reflections of the same thing. The thoughts, this mind-body connection, there really isn't. There's no mind separate from the body. So thoughts and feelings are just the same phenomena looked at from different angles. In terms of depression, it's called depression. It's experienced as a depression. It feels like a burden. It feels like life is somehow too much, But really, at the root of all depression, really all suffering, is resistance. The sense that
it shouldn't be like this.
It shouldn't be like this. It shouldn't be like this. I don't want life to be the way it is. Now, the problem with that is, it is the way it is.
Yeah,
it is the way it is.
It's a lot about justice, right? Because it's just unjust.
Yeah.
I shouldn't be. Why me?
Yeah, and what depression feels like, and I know from personal experience.
I don't know
I
too
spent
much about it.
a lifetime of depression. Really, is that it feels. You wake up in the morning and already it feels heavy. It feels heavy. It feels like you don't want to get out of bed. It feels like it's too much. It's too much for you to hold up. And that's why it's called depression. It literally depresses you. Life depresses you. You're squashed underneath it. And really, but at the root of that is, life shouldn't be the way it is. It shouldn't be treating me like this. I'm a victim. Why is it happening to me? And it's not going the way I want it to. And the assumption beneath all that is that there is a separate me. That I'm a person separate from the whole, separate from God, separate from oneness, whatever words you want to use. And actually the depression, there's so much truth in depression. But you see, especially in our culture, we immediately medicalize it, turn it into a problem. We want to solve it with drugs or with therapy. Actually, there's truth in everything, and the truth of depression is that yes, life is too much. It's too much for you to hold up. It's too much for an individual self to hold up on your own. And that's really the human conditions. We're trying to hold up our own lives. We're trying to make our lives work. We're trying to, we wake up in the morning and literally have to hold up this thing called life. So the depression is the truth of it, that we can't do it.
Well, a lot of religions are based on that, because you give your life to God,
Exactly.
and so then I'm not going to hold it anymore.
Exactly.
And so then it must be a great relief.
Yeah, all religions, they all have a sense of this, and they all talk about surrender. You kind of hear that word a lot, surrender to God and sacrifice, and sacrificing yourself to a higher power, or whatever you believe that higher power to be. So there's a real truth in depression, that this life is too much for you to hold up on your own. And I know that in my past, that was exactly what I was trying to do. I didn't realize it at the time. I was trying to hold up life on my own. And at some point, there's a realization, I can't do it on my own. I can't do this on my own. And then the seeing is that I don't need to do it on my own.
On your own, or you just don't need to do it at all? In other words, did you feel like you had to pass it off to a God or to a higher power, or do you just say it's already with God, or you don't have to say God, it's just already sufficient?
Yeah,
my life.
You can you can call it God, call it the universe, call it life, call it energy. I mean, depending on your background, there's a million different words and ways of understanding it, but really it's that sense that as a separate self, that's what we were saying at the beginning, as a separate self, as an individual, you can't make life work, because already you are life. You're not separate from life. Life isn't yours. We talk about me and my life as if, I owned this little part of life called mine, and this little part of life, it's like
you keep it in your briefcase.
You keep it, yeah. It's like out of this vast ocean, and a vast ocean taking a little bit of water and calling it your water,
my ocean.
my ocean. In fact, the whole thing is the ocean. So there's that letting go. And a lot of religions and spiritual traditions, there's a lot of emphasis on letting go. Let go and let God, or however you want to understand it. In Buddhism, they talk all the time about it, that there's no separate self. There's no separate self, separate from the ocean. That you are the ocean, that this is the ocean. So depression, really, which is a real phenomena in Western culture, it's huge now. I think especially in Western culture, we desperately trying to make our lives work, to succeed, to be someone, to the whole American dream thing. It puts so much pressure on us.
So the more we try to manage and control, the bigger this burden is,
Yeah.
and the more likely we are.
Yeah.
Are other cultures depressed? Maybe they don't try to manage that much, and so it doesn't really hit them that hard.
Their understanding of depression is probably different, But I can only really talk about our culture, and certainly in our culture, there's so much pressure to succeed. I mean, success is like the holy grail, in our culture, really. And so it's bound to end in depression. And really, depression is the truth of it, really, because even if you did succeed, say you did succeed,
we're all headed, right?
Yeah, well, exactly. I mean, say you did succeed. I mean, and there's plenty of people, millionaires, that they're more depressed than anyone, because they've got what they wanted, and then they realize, God, it's not enough, And then it's even worse in a way to have what you want.
Right.
In a way,
otherwise,
it's
a
even
false dream. With a false dream,
Yeah.
you can say, "Well, I'm making a little bit of progress, and
Yeah.
I had a setback, but now
But
I've
it's even
regained
more
my feet."
terrifying sometimes to have
Oh
what
my
you
God,
want.
everything. And then
Once you have what you
there's
want,
nothing there.
Yeah, once you have what you want, well, what are you going to do with it? It's lonely at the top.
It really is, because everyone's trying to hit you up too. So
Yeah.
there's no friendship really. Everybody's got their ulterior motives of trying to know you and stuff, because or at least you feel that way.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So this quest to be someone, at some point it has to fail. It has to fail, because even if you were the success, Behind that success is, oh God, death is going to come and take it all away from you. Jesus said it's easier for a camel to pass through the eye of a needle than it is for a rich man to enter the kingdom of heaven. I think this is what he was pointing to, that all the riches of the world, they don't last. And somewhere underneath, we all know that. We all know that, because we've all known the freedom of being nothing. We've all been newborn babies. We come into this world with nothing. We own nothing. We are nothing.
Maybe it's distinctions, because distinctions, and it kind of means mental activity and memory, is how you make distinctions, because you have to have a benchmark to make a distinction. Mm-hmm. So it comes out of the memory. But, a newborn baby doesn't have any distinctions. A rich man, the more burden you carry as far as physical material things, the more distinctions you have, and what's good and what's successful for you, and what gains more money and what loses money, and all these things don't fit through the door of heaven, or exactly. into now. Yeah,
you can't take it with you. You can't take it with you, and on some level, we all know that. That one of the central teachings of Buddhism is impermanence. That everything in this world is impermanent. So really, it's really the clinging on to that which isn't permanent, to that which isn't ours. That's where all the suffering begins. So even when we get what we want, on some level we know it can't last. We can't keep it. It's not ours. It's not ours. And it's the seeing of that, the seeing of that, no matter what your outer circumstances, then there can be a relaxation. That's when the relaxation begins, really, is the seeing that, oh, it's not mine. None of this is mine. It
wasn't mine in the first place. It wasn't mine in
the first place. And as a newborn baby, you have nothing. There's just freedom. Absolute freedom. Freedom to be anything. To be anyone. But as adults, we just constrict.
More and more narrow,
and heavy. We become heavier and heavier and heavier. And then at some point, death comes and strips it all away, and a lot of people, when there's this strange phenomenon. I used to work in a hospice, and some of the happiest, freest people I ever met were people who only had a few weeks to live. It's very strange.
Wow.
Because suddenly, and they probably weren't conscious of this, there was some sort of realization that how precious life itself is, no matter what you have or don't have, or
they gave up the whole game.
The game.
They just totally gave it up.
I remember very clearly. One day in the hospice, I was playing a game of Scrabble with this lady, and actually I didn't even know who she was. I didn't know that she was a patient at the time, because it was quite a progressive hospice, and there wasn't really a clear distinction between patients and staff. But this woman was absolutely radiant. She was just radiant. She was very quiet, but she was so present. She was so with me. She was just there, And it turned out, I think she died a few hours later.
Wow.
Yeah. You see, the game was over for her. Success or failure, it didn't mean anything anymore. And that's really... the seeing of that. We don't have to wait until we've been diagnosed with cancer. In a way,
we can just be radiant.
Yeah. In a way, we've all got a terminal diagnosis. We're all condemned to death in a way.
Right, but we just somehow that's part of it we're ignoring, right?
Yeah. So we don't have to wait until we're actually condemned to death. We don't have to wait until we've actually been given a diagnosis. That seeing can happen now, the seeing of how precious this is and how impermanent it is and how fragile it is. And really what a gift it is to just be here. No matter what the outer circumstances.
Somehow, I don't think we realize that gift.
No, until it's too late, usually. Until it's too late.
Well, too late means we lost most of our life. We lived most of our life, and then we realize it. And somehow we're not realizing that gift. If there was a way we could really realize how great it is to be alive. I mean,
There's a really quite striking Zen a quote from a Zen master that I love. It's quite strange, really. It says something like this. It's when you're alive, live as a dead man, thoroughly dead, and do as you will, and all will be good. It's very strange, but I think what he's trying to capture is, is that sense of, live as though you're already dead. That this is a bonus.
Well, a dead man will do nothing for the future.
Exactly.
Because there's, he would have no truck with going to do something tomorrow because, okay, he's got a 5-second reprieve or a 5-minute reprieve. God said, go back and just blink your eyes twice on the earth. He's already dead. So that's how he would live. He wouldn't think about 10 seconds away because that's outside of his
he would just fall in love. He would fall in love with whatever's happening, And there would be no fear in it because he's already dead. When you're already dead, there's no fear.
There's no fear either. Nothing can touch you.
And then, you do what you will. You can, if there's something that you need to change, you can go and change it. You can make things better for yourself and others. But it's no longer fueled by fear. You can still be effective in the world. You can still make change where change is necessary. But it's not fueled by fear. And in that way, you can be probably even more effective,
When you said fall in love, that I want to talk about a little bit about that because you were saying that the precepts of Buddhism were such and so. I don't remember exactly what you said. And then sometimes Advaita talks about, or non-dualities talks about nothingness and no oneness and, no one's here and nothing's here and nothing ever happened. And these things seem really, really like icebergs, they're like very cold and very sterile. And the other day, just in our meeting, I was just noting, I think I was sharing aloud that, oh my gosh, here we are again in this room, and so many of the same people come again, to a lot of the functions. And so then I was just noticing, like, I meet some of these people more than I meet my own family or brothers and sisters, or, and then also some teachers kind of use a connection. I'm not so sure, okay, if we're all one, but approaching that feeling, we feel a connection. Other teachers say, though, there's nobody to be connected to nobody. If we're all one, there's no connection. And I've even asked teachers about the Sangha. Sangha is a word that means the group that is around a Zen master or just a master, but about our brothers and sisters, basically. And some have said that there is no Sangha, and others use the other individuals as a resonant board or something like that. It's like a piano with resonance, or somehow we look in each other's eyes, or some seminars I go to, and then by the end of the seminar, we're all just closer than brothers and sisters, and we're all loving and hugging and just feeling each other, There's that feeling and that juicy part, And I think that should be an important part of the formula, whether it's just the approach or whether it's really the arrival. I don't know.
Yeah, these concepts, the concepts of non-duality, like there is no one, there's no choice, there's no person, there's no this, there's no that. It can just become another conceptual, belief system, and the mind loves to come to rest on a certain position. It will even take the concepts of non-duality, like there's no person, there's no choice, and start to believe in those as if they were true. The way I talk about non-duality, it's nothing to do with beliefs or concepts. It's the words are just pointers. So the pointer that there is no one, there's no person. What it's trying to capture is this sense that there is no separate person. There's no separate person that really you have no way of knowing who you are. I think that's a good way of putting it. You have no way of knowing who you are. What you are is an absolute mystery. It's a you could say it's an openness, a freedom that allows everything to to happen. It's Heidegger, famous Western philosopher. He talked about the human being, a person is not a thing. It's not an entity. A human being is an opening, a clearing, in which being can reveal itself. That's pretty cool. We're not entities. We're just an opening. What we are is an opening in which this apparent world of time and space and color and form can reveal itself. And ultimately, this is what the word non-duality points to, and it can't be understood intellectually, is that this opening is not separate from what arises in the opening. They are one. Which is to say that awareness isn't separate from the contents of awareness. Which all can sound very, very intellectual, quite philosophical and quite heady. But what it really means is this, that two separate people, me and you, will never meet. Because there's me with my beliefs, my prejudices, my wants, my desires, my past, my stories, and you with yours. Two people really can only agree or disagree. But really, what we are, we're not people. We're not entities. And this is where words completely fail. This is why you can't really talk about non-duality.
Well, you were saying the space, the clearing.
Space.
We're two clearings that are...
Two clearings meet. And
they just merge.
They merge because it's like oneness only sees itself. It's like, really there are no separate people. You're only ever seeing yourself. It's like, well, you could say in non-duality language, you could say no one meets no one. Really, the mystery is only meeting itself in a million different forms. And so beyond the words, beyond our past, beyond our stories, that's what's always happening. We're always meeting in that place.
Somehow those words, like that type of wording has never resonated with me very much. But when you say like we're two clearings that are just like, maybe my picture is the clearing in the woods, just two meadows that are just merging or something like that, and the sun just spills over, and like your sun is so warm and so delicious, and my sun, I hope you like it, and and that's what, then you start to think, oh, that's what love is.
Yep, that's what the word love points to. The word love points to the end of separation, the end of me and you. It's very interesting because me and you could never really be in love. Because we are love. We can't. Love isn't something that we do. It's what we are. Love. In love, there's no boundaries, no barriers. We talk about falling in love. Love is a falling. It's the falling away of me. It's the falling away of the separate self. So when we talk about two people in love, literally we're in love. We're swimming in love, but that's where we're always swimming. We just we think that person is the source of love. Actually, this is all love. It's all the source. So really, what happens when two people fall in love? It's the story, the illusion falls away, and love meets itself. The source recognizes itself, and it's nothing to do with another person. Because that's when the problem begins, is then we think the other person has done that to us. We think that,
tie them down.
And then have that person exactly. Around. Then we want to possess them. Because that one person there is the source of my happiness. So I have to keep them. And once you have to keep someone, then you have to start manipulating, and that's where the violence begins. But just to see that love is not something that you can have. It's what you are, and then that intimacy begins to be seen everywhere. We're always meeting in that intimacy. Really, we don't know anyone. We don't know anyone at all. And it's like,
so you mean like the only thing you is another clearing, or a no one, but anyone else is is like that clearing that's filtered through their past or through their concepts or beliefs about life.
Yeah.
You know, how life is good.
So what we usually, when we say that we know someone, what we really know is the past. Knowledge is past. Memory. Memory. So we don't really see them anymore. We just see what we know. We experience what we know about them, which is them. When we talk about I know someone, what we really mean is I know what I know about them. We never really know another person. We just know what we know about them, which is them, which is our experience of another. Our experience of another person is what we know about that other person. Our knowledge about another person is that person to us. So when that falls away, there's just intimacy, and you have to admit you don't know them, and then you meet them. You really meet them and you really hear them as if for the first time. And this could be someone that you've known your whole life. You know.
Well, when that falls away, is there any more relationship, or is relationship a thing like not in the terms
I would say that is relationship. There is only relationship. But what we call relationship usually is really when the manipulation begins. When
we usually call it that, a whole series of compromises and agreements.
Yeah, it's like when you first fall in love with someone, you don't know them yet, and you find that's why they're fascinating. You don't yet.
It's all discovery.
It's a discovery. It's a discovery. It's like being a kid again. You're like a child again. You're fascinated by them, and you really hear them. You hear what they say, and you really see them, and they're not yet yours. You haven't yet claimed them as yours. My girlfriend, my boy, mine. It's always mine. And once they're yours, you have to keep them. You have to defend them. And you have to make sure they stay with you, you know.
Well, you close down the space because, you want them to stay in a certain... Once you identified a few patterns and you say, those are pleasing patterns, and then you want to hold them within those patterns, and so then you're closing the space down.
And then if they ever stray away from those patterns, you think there's something wrong with them.
Yeah.
Or you think that...
Or what did I do wrong?
What did I do wrong? Or what does it mean for the relationship?
Right.
So you only see it in terms... You start to see them in terms of you and what you need and what you want.
Fulfilling those patterns.
Fulfilling, for you.
The ones that you have attached to.
Yeah.
So what is it to keep a space open, to allow a person to be however they are? I mean, is that... Like you almost have to reject when you want to close down on a pattern and say, oh, I like that. It's not really a rejection of that, but
I like the word seeing. It's a seeing, and the thing is, in that seeing, say your wife, you've known her for so many years, and to really see her for the first time is in a way to lose her, to lose what you know about her, which is all you've known about her, which really is her. You have to lose your wife. To see your wife, to really see your wife, you have to lose your wife. Jesus said,
willing to lose her, right?
Willing to lose her. You have to, like Jesus said, you have to lose your life to save it. You have to lose your life to save it, to see for the first time what's in front of, with the eyes of a newborn baby. And then it's just that's unconditional love. Just to see that she's not yours. And he's not yours, and they're not yours, and really nothing is yours. That's like we were saying before. And somehow when nothing is yours, it's all yours.
It's like opening a space, right? Because before we were talking past and future, and then it seemed like there was the effort there to be in the now, or, to drop the mental activity or the idea machine or something like that. But maybe just opening a space, opening a space for your partner or your other to be whoever they are is also the same. It's just dropping all the patterns or the memories or the desires.
Yeah, and to see that your girlfriend, your wife, whatever, she's sometimes I look at my girlfriend and it's just seeing that there's no one there. Sometimes I come back home and I look at her and I'm like, who is she? It's almost a constant question. Not that I ask myself that, but it's almost a giant question mark. Who is this person? And then in that question, you're constantly discovering who they are. They will let you know. So really, a lot of these non-duality Advaita concepts, they can become quite dry, very dry and very intellectual. There's no person, there's no choice. It kind of misses the point. What those concepts are pointing to is this aliveness. This aliveness in which that's where you always are. And you meet everyone in that aliveness.
It's kind of like in the last show we were saying something about, like those concepts are great discoveries and not all that hot for teachings, because if you teach something that's totally foreign to a person, they just either reject it or just shrug their shoulders and say, well, what do you want? Should I believe it, or should I just not believe it, or should I just ignore it?
And, I mean, these concepts, of non-duality, what they're really pointing to is, and it's become a very dirty word in a way, very misused, but I think it's a nice word. It's the word love. It's love. And I said before, love is, to me, points to the end of separation. The end of separation. And
sometimes you can fall into it without unwinding your whole past, because it seems like we have this whole tapestry of all our little hurts and all our little suppressions and everything. And I've been to some seminars or some retreats where you just maybe a few people open up to a few other, allow something to bubble up, and everyone accepts it, and gosh, that wasn't so bad. And then after 2 or 3 of those, and I just feel like there's a space here, and then space includes me, and space includes you, and then love is just what's there.
Yeah, and I would say that anyone who is watching this video and who hasn't switched it off yet in disgust, I think there must already be a sense of that, a sense that these words aren't just dry philosophical concepts. They're trying to point to something or capture something that's really, in a sense, too intimate to even talk about. But a lot of people talk about when they like, for example, come to my meetings, that there's something about the words, they don't really understand what we're saying. I mean, a lot of people tuning in probably won't understand what we're talking about, which is a good thing, because I don't understand it.
Understandings are false understandings anyhow.
Yeah,
there's just a repeat of your past.
Exactly. But it's not about listening to these words and trying to understand them. It's more a sense of where these words are coming from. And those words are coming from the mystery, the source, the aliveness, which is what we all are. So really, that's the recognition. That's the resonance that can be experienced, shall we say, when listening to these words, because they're definitely not meant to be understood. If you try to understand what we're talking about here, you'd probably go completely crazy. Well, these words are trying to capture, really, they're trying to capture life itself. The essence of life itself, which of course could never be captured.
Right, it can never fit into any kind of system.
Yeah, but there's a delight in, I think you said it earlier, there's a delight in trying to express this. Because in this expression, that's where we join. It's not me versus you. It's not me trying to get you to understand something, or you trying to get me to understand something. It's in that expression. That expression is what we both are. We are already that expression. So really, this is oneness meeting itself, and that's the joy in expressing this.
Are you traveling a lot these days? I mean, is this your first time to America or not?
Yeah. Well, this is the first time, in the capacity of, teacher or whatever I am.
Right.
But I've been here a few times before when I was a kid.
Right. I think you said one of your relatives lives in Texas.
Yeah, Dallas. Yeah, my grandma lives in Dallas. Yeah.
Uh-huh. So, are you coming again? How is it going?
Yeah, it's
we're a receptive crowd, right?
You're very receptive. Yeah, I've been to California. They were very receptive.
Mm-hmm.
there seems to be a real openness in California, and I don't know. It's a big adventure, really, the whole thing.
Right. Well, we're pleased that you came to Never Not Here.
Oh,
And
thank you for having me.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
So anyhow, here we are again. I was telling you last time that we show up about every week, so keep tuned in. And if you're watching this on the internet, our website will probably be up in a week or two, at least a primitive version of it. And so then you don't have to go to Google or Vidler anymore, but it'll be there. And we're in 3 broadcast areas, also in Center City, all over Chicago, and we're out west and we're up north. And gosh, we like these shows, and we sure like that you're coming to see them. And so please keep coming, because we like it a lot. And so I guess that's about all for this episode. We're here with Jeff Foster from England, and who knows, maybe he'll invite us over to England and we'll just look around and do a lot of stuff in the European continent and check them out. But anyhow, so that's all for now. Richard Miller signing off.
Your beloved calls you here today to ask you for this dance. What will you say?